this evening's AMA. We've got a very special guest here today, Maruia Jensen. Maruia was a teacher for over 20 years and decided she wanted to make movies. She made her directorial debut with her short film Disconnected, which she also wrote. It was released last year to high praise. It won the Ngā Whānaunga Pasifika section at the New Zealand International Film Festival. And I was also lucky enough to work with Maruia the summer of 2020, 2021 on a film called Muru, which comes out later on this year that we can't wait to see. And on that film, we found out our mutual love for film. And this evening, we're going to be diving into a bit of her creative processes and what it has taken to get her to where she is now. So without any further ado, let's bring her in. Where are we going? All right, Maruia, kia ora.
Kia ora.
Welcome to our Graph Grams AMA. And first off, thank you for saying yes to this. We were just talking just before about how you're about to ask me about NFT stuff, and then I sent a message. So yeah, here we are. It's funny how this happened. How you been?
I've been busy as keeping myself busy, trying to keep away from COVID, but I ended up getting it. But
I think everyone's going to have a turn at some point.
Yeah. So keeping up with the Joneses, but I got to get it too.
I've got a bunch of questions here. So everybody who's listening in, whether you're here live or you're going to be watching the recording, thank you. This will be about an hour conversation, and to keep things snappy and moving forward and on topic, I've written us some questions because Maruia and I haven't caught up since we were filming Muru, and there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. So it'll be easy to just go off topic. So I better stay on board. So question number one, I was watching an interview that you did, and it was about doing some writing when you're down in Otago. And when did you first get an inkling that you wanted to get into filmmaking?
Filmmaking itself, because I actually just wanted to be an actor, and I thought that I was going to be like famous. I actually thought that because I cracked this job on tōku reo, a Māori language program that we did. So I actually quit my masters when I got that job. So I was enrolled at AUT to do my masters, and I thought, no, I'm off to Hollywood. So I quit. I was in Pai Ella's class. I quit that, and it didn't work out. But in terms of being like a filmmaker, like making my own stories, it actually wasn't until maybe when I was teaching up north, just hearing kids all the time talk about these gang movies, and I was like, I was just over it. I said to them, "Oh, what do you like about those?" And they said, "Oh, Fight's got Māoris in it." And I was like, far out. These kids are just hungry to see their own on screen, and what they were seeing weren't always positive influences. And so I thought, man, it can't be that hard. Just make a story of a kid, And so I started thinking about, I haven't seen, like, I've got aunties and uncles. I haven't seen their characters on screen before, I've got some pretty funny, hard case people in my life. I haven't seen them. And so I wanted to create stories where I got to portray those characters on screen.
What year was that? What year was that when you were talking to the kids?
So I was at Whangaroa College at the time. It would have been about 2015, 16.
Right.
Yeah. But I carried on teaching, and then a couple of years later, I scored my dream job as the job I've always wanted as a teacher, and it was HOD Māori at Kirikiri High School.
Yep.
And because my mother, she's from Te Tii, which is about a 15, 20-minute drive, so that's the local high school in that area. And all my whānau go to that school. And one of my nannies was a teacher there. And so when I cracked the job there, I got to work with my nanny and be the HOD and teach my whānau. And that was the taumata for me. Yeah. That was what I had always aspired to be. And that year, bro, because I only worked there for a year, halfway through the year, I resigned.
And you did that, the 180.
that was it. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, man. I was like, oh, what am I up to? This is my dream job. Why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
And I felt wretched because, like my nanny, she had been waiting for ages for me to come and work by her, and I really felt like I let her down. But
Mm.
I was waking up every day and just not passionate about my job
Yeah.
anymore. And I thought, oh man, so because Māori teachers are so hard to replace, I ended up resigning. I made a decision. I thought, I'm going to have to give these fellas about 6 months to try and replace me because it's not
Mm.
easy. I did. And wasn't well received, but oh well, hey,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
man.
Ended up with a really good replacement though, and she's one of my ex-students, which was even better.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
and she's still there now doing an amazing, incredible job. So it all worked out. Yeah.
See, look at that. That's a silver lining that nobody would have seen if you didn't make that decision. Now, look, you would have been in their position, not happy, not fulfilled,
Mm.
that, your ex-student might have wanted, now that she's in there and it sounds like she's the perfect person for the job, and I just take my hat off to you for making that decision. That's a big move.
It was a big move, and like people were saying, "Oh man, it was a bit sort of divided." Some were like, "Oh, you're crazy! You're just giving up the salary." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a bit crazy."
Mm,
And then others were like, "Oh, you're really brave," and the majority of those people were teachers. And I thought, wow, this says a lot about there's a lot of our
um,
teachers out there that are really wanting to do other stuff.
yeah,
It's such a service that we provide, and we're letting our tamariki down.
yeah, and that's security. That's a big load of
Oh, yeah.
security that you're letting go of as well.
Yeah, well, that's been hard, to be honest.
Mm,
I'll be, I think about less than half of what I'm making when I was a teacher,
yeah,
struggling, in between contracts, trying to do job, trying to hustle
yeah,
and
yeah,
my mileage up so that I can do my own kaupapa.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's been really tough. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
No, that's cool, and thank you for sharing that with us too. Because anybody who's listening to this, people on the outside looking into the film industry, for example, you only usually see the highlights. You only see the tip of the iceberg stuff, which is when the thing is finished. The awards. You got an award for Disconnected. But
Mm,
what a lot of people don't see and understand, which I'm glad that you're bringing up, is the sacrifices, the hard decisions, not only for yourself, but for your whānau and you know, your wider whānau as well in your community. These decisions aren't taken lightly. So those of you out there who feel like you're on that, um, right on that line between what you're already doing and what you want to do, Maruia is an example of what could happen, if you take that leap of faith. And
mm.
it's better to do it, get to the end of your life and say, well, at least I gave it a try, even if it doesn't work out.
And that's exactly what happened, bro. I just had to weigh it up. I was like, I don't want to look back at this moment in 20 years and wonder what if.
Yeah.
And then I thought, who cares? Just give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, just be a teacher. Like
Yeah.
what's the big deal?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
just a bit of time, and at least you get to find out what you're made of. Nah, so yeah, props to you for that. So we'll jump into this next question. Um, what is the hard? So going to be talking about writing. What is the hardest part, and what is the easiest part for you in the writing process?
I'm going to give you something that I had to overcome.
Choice.
Was my ego.
Mm,
So I wrote the script and I pitched it, and I had won some putia at the Rotorua Indigenous Film Festival. And then I ended up in this course. It was a script to screen course. And Briar Grace Smith was our mentor. And we
what?
did so there were 9 of us, and we all brought our scripts to these wānanga. So we had like 4 wānanga throughout the year. And they were at different stages. So I'd already finished my first draft, and I thought, that's it, it's done. I'm going to shoot this.
I'm all good.
Then she gave me some feedback on my script, and I was such a eat ass. I was like, whatever. What does she know? Like, Well, it was in my head. I didn't say it out loud, but that's all that was going through my head. Was like, she don't know my real, because the story was actually quite personal, and I
Yeah.
think at the time I felt a little bit attacked. I thought, well,
Yeah.
no, she doesn't know. She hasn't been through this, So I had that going for me, that narrative running in my head. And about 2 weeks later, I pushed my ego to the side. And I was like, you know what? Just what is she saying?
Yeah.
And when I moved my ego to the side, she had some really incredible advice and valid points. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have ended up with the draft that I ended up with.
Yeah.
So in terms of like obstacles, yeah, getting over your own self and coming to terms with the fact that your first draft, you're never going to shoot your first draft. Which is crazy if you're going to shoot your first draft. I ended up with maybe about 10, 11 drafts.
Far out.
And it's good to refine your mahi
Yeah.
and get better at it, And it was my
Yeah.
first project. So I was like, who do I think I am coming in with my first draft on the shredder? It's like, oh, bro. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And
Right.
I'm glad you bring that up too, because I think as creatives, there aren't clear lines between, in terms of how to see what's better and what's worse, and it's super subjective.
Yeah.
And as a creative, the things that you make, they're like your babies.
Mm,
This is my baby. I want to protect it.
yeah.
You don't know what's best for my baby. I do. And that's one thing that I've battled with myself. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you bring
I
it
would
up.
advise, if you're going to get someone to look over your scripts, find someone that's going to be honest. So don't get your mum to read it, because she'll tell you it's amazing, but get someone that is going to just give you some brutal honesty.
Yeah, yeah,
What you need. And it's really hard. And I take my hat off to Briar to be able to do her job, and she did it with class and grace. She was really awesome. So yeah, I really learnt a lot from her. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's choice.
Yeah.
And just another thing to add on to what you just said. This is for anything creative as well. When you get feedback, also, please make sure that the person you're getting feedback from knows what they're on about. You can't just get it from someone who's got no leg to stand on. Otherwise, they're not going to give you anything to work on. So that's a good thing. And what about the easiest part of the process, the writing process? What's that for you?
Oh, I call it magic. When I get in this zone, and it can happen for anything, it could be a scene. But magic happens when I'm in this sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I could be writing and I'm just fully immersed in this world that I can see it. And that's when the words just flow, and then all of a sudden, holy crap, I've written about 3 pages, and I'm like,
Wow.
that's a really cool zone to be in. Just relax, let it go. And there's times when I try too hard and I can't make it work. But there's other times when I'm enjoying it, and when I'm enjoying the scene that I'm writing, like especially comedy, I really love comedy. And so when I'm writing a funny scene, I can hear it or see it played out in my head, and then more ideas come out. It's like a little wānanga going on in my brain. I love it, and it just feels like magic appears on the page.
Yeah. Oh, that's choice. It's funny you say that, because literally last night I was talking to one of my mates, and he was talking about George R.R. Martin, the fellow who wrote Game of Thrones, and he was talking about this interview he heard with him, and he was talking about that, being immersed in the world when he writes worlds. And he said for him it's like he disappears from the actual world that he's living in, and he's into this world, and he like can feel the wood grain, he can smell like the rain and air, things like that. So it's funny, literally last night he told me this, and now you're saying
Wow.
it today. So that's crazy. And you already touched on it, but this next question, do you have exercises or a routine to get into that that magical sort of zone? Is there anything that you've pointed that can get you there a bit easier?
Not really. It just happens when it happens.
Mm.
But one thing I do, I don't know if this is very good advice, but when I get a bit haurangi, I have really good ideas. And sometimes I have a bit too much to drink and I forget those ideas. So I have a notes thing on my phone when I get a really good idea or a line or something, one-liner or a scene idea, I'll put it on my phone. And so I'll wake up sometimes and I haven't remembered putting these in my phone. I'll be like, "Wow, that's a mean idea," and I end up putting them in my script. But yeah, there's certain buzzes that you can get into that really enhance your creativity. And like I said, I'm not condoning this or trying to promote it, but when I've had a bit of a toke and a couple of drinks, I'm just, and that goes for music. I can compose songs, I can write scripts. So I don't know what it is about those frequencies that's going on, but a lot of really amazing stuff comes out. And then also my dreams. So a lot of the stuff that I write comes from my dreams, which is out. Yeah.
Man, no, that's good. Because do you think it's, how we all have like what is it? What am I trying to say? When you have thoughts, like when you're just out and about normal day life, but your mind is constantly saying, "Oh no, that's stupid. That's a stupid idea." But when, like, say, you're haurangi, for example, that sort of wall has gone away. So it's just letting the creative ideas just come out without you stopping them from coming out. Yeah, that's interesting. And it's funny you say that
Yeah,
because
that could be it too. It's the same with your Māori, hey? Yeah.
I had a dream today about
what were you
our
gonna say? I was gonna
wānanga.
say, like when you're learning te reo and you have that confidence to speak when you've had a few drinks. That knowledge is already there, but it just freely comes out. There's nothing, no barriers. It's just
not second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to make mistakes and all that too. You're confident. Not afraid, all of that stuff. Oh, that's cool. You brought that up. Our next question. Can you explain? So one of the reasons that I wanted to do AMAs like this with people like yourself who work in film industry, gaming industry, and so on, is so that our audience, or the people that we're trying to serve, can see from actual people who work what the process is like, and a lot of them have no idea what goes into it. So this next thing is, can you explain to anybody who doesn't know what a script is?
A script is, it's the Bible. It's the Bible of your project. So, and when I say that, I don't say that lightly. Every department relies on that script to do their mahi. And so I don't know if there's many people out there that understand what it's like to even create something on camera, but you've got a whole team of people and departments working in the background. So you've got art department who set up the set. You've got cameramen, and you've got gaffers, you've got lighting. Everything depends on that script. So you might, and this is what I didn't realize until I shot my first short film. When any little detail you write in there, you're sending the art department to the shot up the road because it's in the script. And it's like I said, it's Bible. And so it could be anything little. He's holding a black pen. If no one's got a black pen, you got to go buy a black pen because that's what it says in the script. So I didn't realize how literal people took the script. And it makes me mindful as a writer that, do we really need him to be eating a pie? That kind of stuff.
Eating anything, it's all right.
Yeah, it gives the background of the setup for the scene and the dialogue is what a script is. Does that
Yeah. So I think probably something that we could liken it to would be like how a builder has a blueprint and plans to build a whare, which is all the measurements, all the materials, the cost and all that, everything that goes into. So a script is all the directions and everything.
Yeah, you do the practical side from the blueprint. Yeah.
Yep. So anybody who was wondering before now, that's basically what a script is.
Yeah.
Next thing, who are some of your writing influences?
Good That's a good question. My mum was one.
Choice.
Yeah, so this is actually, it ties into what made me want to do film. My mum used to write, so she used to write books, and I was never into books. I'm not a bookworm like she was. She had heaps of books, and she used to read all those like Clan of the Cave Bears and all of those kind of old school books. And then she began writing one time, and she had this whole trilogy mapped out in her head. But the way she had written it, so she had the outline for the 3 books, but the first one she had written about maybe 7 chapters, 7 out of, say, 15 to 16 chapters. She had written them out fully, and then the ones that she hadn't written out were like a synopsis. And the chapters were pages long. And when she passed away, that's all she had completed. And I remember she used to tell me, she used to like bounce ideas off me and stuff. And she goes, oh, you know, what do you think about this character and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it sounds mean. And there were times that she was reading me passages and I could see it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I could hear Macy because singing in the background, like I could just see visually. I was just like, bro, that's a mean scene. And so one of my ultimate goals is to bring her story to the screen.
Right.
Probably my biggest influence in terms of writing. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
When I read her, because I downloaded, I've got all of her mahi that she did. She had written it on, like, scribbled it on paper and stuff. So I've got those, and I've got the electronic copies that she had typed up on the computer. And it's real hard. It's because she was quite spiritual, my mum. So the story is a supernatural kind of a story. And there's all of these things, these mean-as chapters. I know what the story is, and then there's synopsis, so I could make it up myself. Then there's just one chapter, and all she wrote on there was patu paerehe, and I was like, okay, so I gotta, you know, I gotta do some research.
Maybe going through all the chapters up to their patu paerehe one, your mind will be where her mind was. So you can go, oh, maybe that's why she went to patu paerehe by this point.
But it was buzzy because she died back in 2013, and I never went through her stuff until last year.
Wow,
well, I don't know. I don't know if it was because I wasn't ready or, you know, but I thought, oh, I'll go for a read. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And I'm really excited to do that. But I always vowed to make sure I have heaps of experience before I touch that kaupapa.
Yeah.
You know, I want my skills to be
adequate and not have any of your skills be the reason that it can't be as good as it can be or should be.
Bro.
Man, that's choice. What a way to sort of, I suppose it's, you know, it's literally collaborating, but, you know, to still do stuff with your mum, you know, after she's passed away. Yeah, man, that's choice is. Next, number 6. Gonna start talking about Disconnected. When did you start writing it, and how long was the entire writing process?
So I finished teaching in 2017. That was the year I was at Kirikiri High School. Handed in my resignation, and we went for a trip over to the Gold Coast, me and my friends, my kares. We went over for a girls' trip. We went to Byron Bay, and near that area there's this place called what's it called? Crystal Mountain or Crystal Castle or some place like that. And so we were like, you know, we'll go and have a look at this place. And then there's like massive crystals, like huge, big boulder-looking things, and they've got areas where you can meditate and all that kind of stuff. It was really beautiful, real beautiful ahua there. And there's this like maze thing that you do, and you ask a question, and by the time you've gone through the maze, You just follow the path until you finish. By the time you finish the maze, you'll have the answer. And so my pātai was, how do I start writing? Like, how do I even start this? And by the time I got to the end, my answer was, just write, bro. And I was like, really? So yeah, I just started writing, and I had it visually in my head, and all I had to do was put it down on paper.
Yeah.
But the dream sequence was very different in the first draft. So the dream sequence was based on an actual dream that I had of my mum after she passed.
Right.
Yeah, so it was a real gnarly dream, bro. I was like in this like beautiful bay, beach bay, and it had this cop car, and I was like, how do you like surfing, hoverboarding behind it? I don't know how to explain it, but I was holding onto the boot of this cop car, and it was just driving me around this beautiful bay. And then we got to the street, and it was my street that I grew up on, and I was like, and I don't know how I knew, but it just in that moment I was like, Mum. And so I sprinted down to the house because it was about 4 houses away. And when I got there, the house wasn't there, and I was like, what the hell? And then I looked across the road, and the house was on the other side of the road. So anyway, I went up and I saw her, and I gave her this massive hug. It was the first dream I ever had of her after she passed. And so it was just like a really beautiful moment, bro. And so that's the dream that I had written in the script. But we only had a budget of 23,000, so we couldn't pull that off. So I ended up changing the dream, and I actually really loved how it ended up.
Yeah, I really did too.
By bringing the mum back into the house, I really liked that. So, yeah. So that was 2017, I think it was. Just started tutoing, and then I pitched it the year after and got funded.
Right. At Rotorua, the Rotorua Film.
Yeah. So the Rotorua Indigenous Film Festival, and then from there, because man, it's just been a crazy ride, eh? I pitched the idea. I actually got second. So there was another guy that won it. I came second, and they gave me $2,500. And I remember going to visit my cousin who's in the industry, and I said, "Cuz, come produce my film. I've got $2,500." And he cracked up laughing. He goes, "You ain't gonna do anything with $2,500." I was like, "Oh, what?" But at the festival, I had these people that, because I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone in the industry. And these people were coming up to me, and they're like, "Oh, if you need a producer, here's my card." And this wāhine, Irina Tamepo, she was part of, she was Ngā Ahufkari. And she said to me, "Want you to pitch your idea at Ngā Aho Hui A Tau next year. It's in March." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." She goes, "But you're going to have to chop that pitch down because it was supposed to be 3 minutes and I took like 7." Yeah, okay then. So she like started flicking me all these emails about, "Oh, this course that you need to do," and that's how I got onto the script to screen stuff. And so she really just took me under her wing and just whāngaid me, and it was amazing. And so from there I went to Ngā Aho Hui A Tau, and I pitched the idea there and got 15,000 from there. Yeah, and that's how it ended up coming about. And I cracked my producer the day before that Hui
Angela?
too. Yeah, Angela, yeah. So she's been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's choice.
Heaps of contacts too. So I didn't realize at the time how I tenace that whole kaupapa, you know? Like I just thought that's how easy it was. You just put your idea and you get all this producer, and then this producer will rock up and do it for you. You know, that's what I thought. And then doing my second one, I'm like, bro, that was such a fluke.
Yeah, maybe that's why, because that's a big thing, is like getting out of your own way, eh?
Yeah.
Don't say, "Nah, I'm not gonna get it." Say if you went in with that energy.
Well, I went in with the clueless energy. I had no idea what I was doing, bro. I was just like, "Oh, yep." And then just doing what I was told, and all these opportunities just ended up falling into my lap, really. I just felt like it was a beautiful process making Disconnected. Yeah.
Man, that's choice. And then on talking about, your dream and how you're talking about the story being so personal, was it more challenging or was it more liberating writing a story so personal?
Well, actually, because I I had 2 ideas that I wanted to pitch originally, and I wasn't going to go for this one because it was personal. I thought, oh no, I want to be a bit more experienced before I go and touch something like that, you know. And so, but I ended up changing my mind at the last minute, and I pitched that one instead. So the one that I was going to pitch is a comedy, and that's the one that we're doing crowdfunding for very shortly with my producer, Anahira Parata.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of it, yes.
So she's producing my next short film. We're going to be setting up a booster campaign in the next couple of months.
Choice.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people ask me, is that a true story? And I say no. It's inspired by real events, but I had to make it less personal, to sort of protect my whānau. And when you've got so many people that you have to jump through hoops for, you just want to preserve the tapu over there, you know, and so you sort of create, and it's cool too, because then you get that creative license to do something that hasn't happened. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
So it was inspired. It was not real. The characters in there were inspired. They weren't, that's my brother and that's my mum, anything like that. It was just, it was all inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's good because, you know, it would be hard to have these characters who are supposed to be direct representations of certain people in your whānau and be like, and then put it up to, you know, because when you create artwork in any form, you know, this is, I consider film art, and you put it out there, you put it up to scrutiny, you know, and no one wants to put their whānau up to scrutiny. It's just like, nah, bro, you can't say that.
The other thing is you have really high expectations because you need to find an actor that's gonna talk like how you want them to. You know, you end up with obstacles in front of yourself if you're going to do that. So I felt that just using my whānau situation as inspiration and just making up stuff was way better. Yeah. So the original inspiration was the phone call. So when we lost our mum, me and my siblings, we used to ring her cell phone so that we could hear her voice on voicemail. And one day it cut off, and it was the most gut-wrenching feeling. It was like, holy, that's like you just gone and taken our mum away. You know, it was really out of it. And the voice message that's on the film is the exact voice message that we heard.
Right.
Yeah. So that was cutting. But it was the catalyst behind the film. Yeah.
Man, it was powerful too, I gotta say, you know, and I'm glad that I got to watch it before we did this, because a lot of the stuff that we already talked about is making more sense, you know, because already I knew from when you told me about your short film when we were working on Muru, how powerful it was gonna be, but seeing it, you know, with the acting, the bro's acting amazing, you know, that
I want to give him an award. Like, I actually think he was incredible, you know.
Yeah, he was.
And I'm not just, you know, blowing smoke up his ass. He was such a beautiful actor to work with. Very generous with what he offered. And we literally had one hui before we started shooting. That was it. We had one hui, and that's what he was able to. I remember there was the scene where he's like smashing up the house. And it was a hard case because we were doing a block through with the camera, and he goes, oh, and then I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm like, oh, hey. In my head, I'm like, oh man. And then as soon as we started calling action and he just started bashing up the house, I was like, oh okay, I'll just leave him to it. Like, it was really incredible, honestly, just so incredible. And the other 2 actors that played the mates, so much fun to work with, eh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So Vela, who's played the Samoan character, he was in my script to screen course. He's a really good actor too. He's in heaps. He's in Panthers, Legend of Baron Toa.
That's why I recognised his face.
Stuff, right? And so And we got to know each other pretty well through our course. And every time we'd do the read-throughs in the course, every time he did whatever character, I was just like, can you just be on my phone? You're mean as. And he goes, yes, sis, all good. So yeah, hit up his agent and got him in there. And then to Kairangi, who played the other mate,
Yep.
that character was based on a cousin, and he played it perfectly. He played
Hey.
real Nanakia kind of, nailed it.
Man, and I like the script, especially that bit where the bro went over to the house to knock on the windows and all the stuff that he was saying. I was like, that's what people actually say.
Yeah,
And
I wrote that.
yeah, and like the thing is,
Yeah,
you carry on, sorry.
that's how they talk, eh?
Yeah,
It's a bit
but it
nasty.
was sorry for keep cutting you off, but because one thing that I've learned is that when people write dialogue, there's points that have to be made, has to help move the plot forward. But what I love is that the dialogue was authentic, but it also moved the plot forward, and without it sounding like forced, because that's one thing that I hate is when dialogue sounds like it's forced, or it's like, hey, that sounded unnatural. It sounded like they just said that thing to move the plot forward, but
Yeah.
this one was like organic and natural, which was choice.
Yeah, so directing those three was actually a lot of fun because I let them kind of just go for it. So, the boys were asking, "Oh, are we allowed to veer off? Do you mind too much if we say this?" I said, "Bo, I want you to say what you feel is natural to you, and if there's points there that I really want you to say, I'll let you know." And so all that nightclub scene and everything, they're just playing. I just roll the cameras, bro, and let them go for it. And they gave me we must have shot that scene about 12 different times, and each time was different. And so I had all of this juicy content to work with in the editing suite. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. And just they were amazing. But I just let them go for it because they're actors and they know what they're doing, and you just got to let them do what they do best.
That's
Yeah.
their craft, and I suppose for you, as long as it doesn't veer too far off the vision and the story,
Yeah.
if it stays within that story, still says what it needs to say, go hard, let artists be artists.
Yeah, for me, as long as they captured the wairua of the scene, I didn't care what they said. All their little ad-lib bits, that was all them. All of those
Yeah.
little bits. When they're at the work site and he's like you go to work, that's them just playing. Like, just let them go for it because they were having fun, man. And watching them do that is just beautiful to watch. You don't
Yep.
want to really micromanage actors because they know what they're up to.
Yeah. Yep. Man, that's choice. Next partai is a combination of two partai. I wanted to break it down just to make it a bit simpler because I could see this conversation going on for hours and hours. But it was so talking about a little bit about the process of like filmmaking. We've already talked about writing. You've talked about different departments. What is the collaboration process like with different departments and heads of departments and things like that, even with funders and stuff like that?
Oh, that's such a big question. Ultimately, the script is the first and foremost, so that once that's, and that's why I say don't get too hung up on your drafts, because once producers get involved and directors get involved and actors get involved, there's all this input and collaboration, I suppose you could say. And they're thinking with their lens, they're coming to it with their lens. So a producer's always looking to save money. How can you make that happen cheaper? And I try not to, because I know what they're thinking. I try not to write with that in my mind. I think a few times I've caught myself writing and I'll be like, oh, now change it to this because the production won't, they won't go for it. No, just write, do your job and write, and then worry about that stuff later.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. HODs have a massive part of it. So pre-production for FINA, I learned a hell of a lot for that. and I got to intern with the directors. So I got to see, bro, I
Invaluable, man.
know. This is honestly, so I got to sit in these HOD meetings and listen to all the kōrero and absorb everything. But the first AD, I think their job is probably, they're like the mum that cracks the whip.
It's a good way to put it.
They're like the mum, and so you got to listen to the mum, you know. And the director's like the dad.
Yeah.
No? So mum's got to do everything for the dad.
You heard what mum said.
And the dad will get all the credit. But yeah, we had an amazing first AD. His name was Gene. He did an incredible job. But yeah, they collaborate quite a bit. This is all pre-production. This is all before we start shooting, and so there's hois happening all the time. Wardrobe. So there's got wardrobe, makeup, camera, all the departments. Locations. That's a big one. Yeah, that's a real cool job. Unit. Unit aren't really a part of those hui, but yeah. So you turn up on set, and then there's just like 100 times people more than what were in pre-production because everyone's got their teams along, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do sort of get to meet makeup, wardrobe pretty early because they've got to be able to, you know, organize their stuff and locations.
Yeah.
So you get to go out on recce's and see all of these beautiful spots, as you would know. It's one of the perks of the job is going to beautiful locations, eh?
Yeah.
So it's a huge collaboration process, and it's all to make the director's vision come to life. It's so beautiful that you've got all these people trying their best to make your dream a reality.
Yeah.
So cool, man.
All of these unique skills, and because one of the things for myself, like being an artist, is the majority of my life has been creating art by myself. And then when I got to the point a few years ago where I decided, like, actually, I think I want to get into film. Because I love movies. I love watching movie breakdowns. When I find people that I can talk to and break down movies, I'm like a kid at Christmas time. You know, and like the idea of doing that, and then being on Muru with you and seeing what the process was like and how handy it was and how stressful it was, and going through all of that learning and stuff, and being like, yeah, man, this is it. This is, you know, this is cool. And the collaboration part is the part that I know I don't have much experience in, but just doing a little bit of it on Muru was cool to see. And people who are, you know, watching and intrigued by the film industry, this is just a little keyhole look into, you know, different departments, different parts of the process. So I hope you fellas take a bit of value away from this. I'll jump into this next part. What was your favorite and what was your least favorite part of the filmmaking process?
For my own film or for any of them that I've worked on?
We'll say for your own film, like as a director and writer.
So my favorite part of the process, we got 3 days to shoot, and it took me 3 days to get my head around how to be a director because I'd never done directing before, you know. So I'm sitting in front of this monitor and not realizing, because I'm too busy watching them over there.
Yes.
And then by the third day, I was like fully immersed in the screen and in the kaupapa. And so I got a chance to sort of sit back and just watch everyone make my dream come true. That was probably the best moment of the whole shoot. You know, it was like, bro, I can't believe we're all doing it. Yeah. And I was like, it was a bit mind-blowing actually, just sort of taking a breath and just being like, whoa, this is happening, you know?
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
You took
it
a
was
moment.
just really, just being present in that moment was really cool, man. It was so cool. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah,
That was the
amazing.
moment, I was like, yep, this is where I want to be. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I want to do. Yeah.
So that was your favorite part. Did you have a
Yeah.
least favorite?
Least favorite was the waiting, because we wrapped up in, was it? We shot it in 2019, and it wasn't released until 2021.
Mm,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
2 years. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, and COVID had a big part to play in that. Because you're low budget, everyone that comes to your kaupapa are coming for aroha. They're not getting a lot of money
Yeah.
for it. And when people have bills to pay, you've got to sort of take your place in their priority list, so to speak.
Mm,
So we had a lot of things to wait on. In hindsight, it happened how it was supposed to happen. Reason being is there's a song that's played outside in the garage during the dream sequence. That's a song from Up Home. And I pitched the idea at our Ngāti Rehia wānanga. We had a wānanga reo one weekend, and I stood up and I said, look, I want to use this waiata for my film. It's a party scene. I'm not sure if
mm.
you're familiar with that. And they were sweet as. They were like, yeah, no, that's a party song anyway. So we went into the kaupapa of the song. It was one of our ancestors, Tere Te Heihei, and
Yep.
about this rugby team that he had created from picking players from around the north. That's why there's like lots of place names in this
Mm.
waiata. And so I thought, cool, I'm going to use it. So I had permission. That was all good, and could never get a time where I could record it. I
Mm.
could have done it with a kapahaka group, but it didn't have that authentic party sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, one of my nannies, the nanny that I worked with at Kirikiri High School, she passed away.
Mm.
And after her tangihanga, we went back to her whare and we had a big party.
Yep. Of
And
course.
I was like, a little bit haurangi, and I said, cousins, do you want to be in my short film? And they were like, yeah. So, because the cousins had the guitar out, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you have to sing Te Piki a Tere. And they're like, yeah. So I recorded it on my iPhone, and it had everything. It had laughing, clinking of
Yeah.
what I needed for that scene. And had we released that film or gone into post when I wanted to, we would have missed out on that gem. So it's like, honestly, the way it all ended up is how it was supposed to end up. And even its release, we got into the New Zealand Film Festival last year. That went ahead, and then we ended up winning the Ngā Whānaunga Pasifika section, and also the People's Choice section in that as well. So just the way it all happened,
Yep.
At the time I was a bit impatient, because I was like, come on, man, this is my dream, and I just want to hurry up and get it. People think I'm all shit that I've made them film.
Like, yeah, where's their movie?
Yeah. So the waiting was the hardest part.
Man, that's crazy you say that, because when I watched the movie, I could see all of that party scene happening, even though I couldn't see any of it, just from the sound of it. It's funny that it's just recorded from your iPhone, and because if it only speaks to you as much as it does if you've ever been around that, you've been in that, because you know what it looks like.
And
there's
the
probably
fact
was
that
a
it was,
fireplace there too.
yeah, the fact that it was the morning was deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the knuckles have
they've
been
been
on
going all night.
yeah.
Man, no, that was powerful. And just for people listening, is there anywhere that people can watch it, or where can they watch it?
Oh, so at this stage, because there were rumours that the New Zealand Film Festival were looking at doing some screenings in Auckland, since they missed out last year because of so it was cancelled in Auckland, Hamilton. It did go ahead in Tauranga. So I think Auckland and Hamilton were the two places that it was cancelled. I have heard whispers that they might be screening it there. But if you are around the Otaki area, at Māoriland Film Festival this year. It'll be screening there, and it'll also be screening at the Wairoa Film Festival this year.
Wairoa, far right.
Yeah, so there's a few festivals to keep keeping it. It's not available online for obvious reasons, but we've tried to enter into film festivals internationally as well. So we're still waiting to hear back from those. And it's not until it's done the circuit that we'll put it out for the public.
Yeah.
Because those are
there is a trailer out there.
Yeah, well, when you put your film out in the public forum like that, you're not allowed to enter certain festivals. So
yes. Yeah. No, that's choice. Yeah. Where was I? Oh, I remember when we were on the set of Muru and you were talking about, because I was asking you about this movie and you said it was finished, but I'm just waiting on one song.
That was the song.
Was it that song?
Oh, actually, no. I know what song you're talking about. It was the nightclub song.
Yeah, I just want to say, what's the importance of music in your film?
Oh, for that kaupapa was real important. And so I was really lucky because my first cousin who played the bar owner. Yeah, that's my first cousin.
First cousin, far out.
And he, years ago, he went to Mainz and he made all of this music, hip-hop sort of, and R&B. And then he just left it. Like he went overseas to Perth with his whānau and he, did some stuff over there. And when he come back, I just said to him, "Cuz, what are you going to do with you?" Because he had all these cool songs, and we all whānau, we all enjoyed his music, but he was like, whatever. So that dream sequence was supposed to have a song that I had in mind that I'd written in the script. It was a Stevie Wonder song, Blowing in the Wind.
Yep.
And my producer said, "Oh, probably can't afford that." I was like, "Can you just find out? I just want a quote. Let me know how much it's going to cost. We might be able to figure it out." She goes, "Oh, it's 33,000 for 30 seconds." And I was like, "What?"
Okay, mate.
Okay. So then your mind starts, coming up with other creative ideas. And then I thought, bro, my cousin's got all these songs. I need to hit him up. So I said, "Cuz, can I have your songs?" He goes, "Go for it." Like, oh man. So him and my brother and my cousins, a couple of my cousins, are responsible for all of the beats throughout that whole film. But one of my mates, Taimana, that I met on the set of Whina, he did this beat. And because I had been given a beat by a professional producer, and it's a cool beat, but it didn't fit my vision.
Yeah, it's got a feel,
Because music's a massive, it has a big influence over the emotion of that scene.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, it was a really cool beat, but it just wasn't right for that. And so I was talking to my mate, and he's tutus with beats and stuff, and I was like, "Got any beats here?" So he jumps on his laptop and he's like, "What about this one?" I was like, "Oh, can you speed that up?" And he goes, "Okay." So he speeds it up, and I go, "More, bro, speed it up, more." So he did, and that's the song that ended up being used.
Right.
Yeah, crack up, hey.
Yeah, man, that's funny, and it's cool that it because there's a big difference, I don't know what it is exactly. It's not production equipment, but you just know the feeling of homegrown music, like literally made at home beats versus like professional beats. And this was one of those films where it was appropriate to have that homegrown sort of feeling.
Exactly.
It would have been a little bit out of place if it was the more professional. Yeah. And so choice. Yeah, I knew I had to ask this question because I think that was the first thing I ever found out about your movie.
Yeah,
it was one of those night shoots that we did.
Yeah, sets the mood. Has a big
hard out
of a scene.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we went into the editing suite and we started tutoing with different songs, and I was like, "Nah, not that one." You just know. And and then other people are like, "This is a cool one." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not what I was going for." So you just gotta stick with your vision and stay. It's okay to take on advice, but it's your kaupapa and it's your vision. And if it's something that you won't compromise, then don't. Is my advice.
Yeah. Ooh, Those are some powerful words. I'm gonna make a post out of that one day. Don't compromise if it's your vision. Don't compromise if you don't have to. And if it's something that's important to your vision and your story,
Mātai,
compromise on other
how
things.
is the crew selected? Actually, I was lucky that my producer had a connection, so they just come off cousins.
Mm.
And Mātai would know Ray Edwards. He was my DOP.
The man too.
He's a cool fella, man. Anyway, he had just come off cousins, and Ange thought, well, see what he's up to. So he agreed to be DOP, and he bought his crew that had just come off Avatar. And I was like, and like I said, when you're doing a short film, everyone that gets involved in a short film is doing it for aroha, in the kaupapa. So having those expertise, man, I was just like so humbled. Honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, having that caliber of skill to tap into was pretty cool. So it's the producer that mainly takes care of that, but she does consult with me on the important sort of, DOP is pretty important. And Ray, knowing that it was my first, mahi as a director, and because he was a bro too, which made it really we only had one hui before that, and he just nailed it, man. And I think there was only a couple of times I was like, oh, bro, I kind of imagined it would be like this. And he was like, sweet. So he just like got his team to, just do it. And I was like, oh, so yeah.
Wow, thank you, bro.
And there's this scene where Chance is sitting on the couch and he's like, there's a coffee table and the glass, you can see through the glass.
Yep.
And he's like going up and down through, so the lens is going up and down, and it looked trippy it looked really cool. Yep. I was like, this fella, what's he up to?
Yeah.
So we cut, and when we did it again, I said, that's mean, bro, but I need a clean shot as well, just so that I had something to edit and
Man, because he does. I remember when I watched Cousins, immediately I was like, whoa, who the hell is this DOP? Beautifully shot, the wide open lenses. And it makes sense because it was in Wellington, so you didn't even have to cover any shop signage because the focus was so shallow, you couldn't even read anything anyway. But it sort of went with the film, and I liked that there was I could see some of the hononga between his imagery in your film and Cousins. And there was one frame in particular that was my favorite, and it's the one that is pretty much it's pretty much on your fella's poster, the one with what's his name? Cotta?
Scotty.
Your fella's name? Yeah, Scotty, Cotta. Scotty, and it's him looking to the left of frame, beautiful lighting, and it's kind of like a shorted angle, so he's like close to the edge of the frame. And then you've got all the space behind his head. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Actually, Ray was responsible for the lighting in that dream sequence as well. So one of the frustrating things that was for the process was watching the rough cut over and over and over. And when you haven't gone into post to fix those up, seeing those becomes boring.
Of course.
And so there's things that I'm hearing, I'm like, ugh. And then so once we got into post, because I just had to trust him because he knew what he was doing. And he goes like, he knew what I wanted from the scene. And when we got into post and the guy that was doing the post, he goes, who's your DOP? And I said, Ray Edwards, he's the man, eh? And he goes, yeah, bro, he's the man. I love this. He'd set the lighting up perfect so that we could really tutu with it. And that's what made the contrast, because I said to him, I want really bright colors for the dream sequence, because when I think of heaven or the afterlife, everything feels, I would imagine, bright, vibrant. And so that's what we were going for. And it wasn't until we went into post that I got to see it. And I was just like, oh, wow, it was beautiful. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. And, this everybody listening, that goes to show that, with this collaboration process in the filmmaking process, having faith in, the people that you have on board, especially if they're super skilled at what they do, whatever their department is. And if you have that trust in, I think he hears me, or I think they hear me, even though from right now it doesn't look like it or sound like it, later on, having that trust, paid off with you and, made a beautiful movie. And
Especially
we're just about. I know you go. Carry on. Sorry.
he set the dolly up for that scene where Scotty's bashing up the house and stuff.
Yeah.
And he told me what he goes, this is how it's going to look, and we're going to do this. And I was like, oh, bro, that sounds mean. And when I watched the rough cuts, and I was like, I just totally saw what he was doing there, and I was like, oh, you're the man. That was great and just perfect for that scene too.
Yeah.
What it does to
And
the drama, it's really out of it how a camera lens can influence the way you feel about a scene. And they did it so awesome. Yeah.
small things, you know, and those are their paintbrushes, you
Mm.
know, those are their paints, you know, light, shadow, framing, camera movement, you know, all of those
You've
things.
got like 100 people looking at the screen, all looking at different things.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's all to make this vision the
Mm.
best that it could be.
It's quite a beautiful industry to be in, eh?
Yeah, that's choice. And as we just start wrapping up now, we've just hit the hour mark.
Mm.
Got one final question for you, and it's what advice would you give to anybody wanting to become a filmmaker?
Oh, just do it. Do it, man. Honestly, everyone has a story. Like everyone has a story. I've been
Mm,
approached so many times. I've got this mean story. I'm like, cool, make it. You know, just do it. There's so many Maori out there trying to help other Maori in the industry. You just got to tap into it's like a snowball effect. You meet one and then you end up meeting another.
mm.
You just end up in all these kaupapa. Just give it a go. That's all I have to say.
There it is, Whānau. If you're a budding filmmaker, you want to share your stories, tell your stories, you heard it here. Just go and do it. And as you've heard, if you've listened to this whole podcast with Maruia, it's not easy, you know. It takes sacrifice. It takes putting yourself out there. It takes having trust and faith in yourself. Um, and if it's something that you really truly love, it will be worth all of those things and more.
Yeah. It really helps having heaps of support too, like a supportive
Mm,
whānau, like whānau that will let you crash on their couch if you have to, or, help pay your bills, or, those kind of things. They all
yeah,
add up, man. And yeah, and even the moral support, just people just always behind you 100%. Yeah, it's going to be mean and you're cool. And, you just,
yeah,
it's a real, like, that saying, he toa taki tini, bro. It really is like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
a group effort, and yeah, just thank you for making the time for us this evening. And I know you've got a kaupapa this weekend. Hope that goes choice. Look forward to hearing all about it. Do you have any closing words to anybody listening, and where can people follow your journey?
Actually, I was thinking of well, you can add me on Facebook if you want. Most of the stuff that I put up is on there, and
Mm,
usually if I get whiff of auditions, if you want to be an actor,
choice.
whatever, I usually post stuff up on there as well. But I was thinking of making like some TikToks,
Do it.
just sort of like showing people the journey from teaching
Yeah,
to filmmaking, and even just showing behind the scenes stuff. I think people will be really interested in it.
I know I would.
Sometimes I would do on Instagram, oh, I'm at mahi today, and just having breakfast. People are like, oh, do you get breakfast? I'm like, oh, you don't realize that you've been immersed in this world. Other people don't even understand. It's like, yeah, you're
Mm,
catered, you get coffees all day, that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I wouldn't mind doing some sort of little behind the scenes sort of stuff. And
yes,
yeah,
yes, please.
yeah,
Please
yeah.
do it.
Watch the
Those are my
space will
favorites.
happen. But yeah, will probably be the best. Is I've mostly chuck my stuff up on there, and then you'll be able to see the links when we do end up posting the film online and stuff like that.
Mean choice. All right. Thank you, Maruia. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to the live broadcast of this, and everybody who's watching the replay. If you've gotten this far, thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, too much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Maruia.